So, for our last tactical video of this week, and I'll be very light on the drills, so there isn't too much more to go through. We'll be looking at the goalkeeper. So this is relevant, of course, to the goalkeepers to learn how to play properly in their position, but it's also relevant to every other player, because you have to understand the strengths and weaknesses of a goalkeeper if you want to score a goal. This video is good because it shows you the reality of shooting angles. When it says living in the triangle, very American term, and I like ideology of teaching, but essentially you create a triangle between the ball and the two posts, and that's your shooting angle. So this video is very good at showing what your shooting angles are in certain positions and how the goalkeeper is going to try and move to counteract them. So my commentary in this video will be very light, just to get through it.
This segment is entitled Living in the Triangle, Becoming a Master of the Angles, the Goalkeeper's Cheat Sheet. Besides aspiring to that perfect base position, our positioning within the goal is of the utmost importance. Here are the basics.
So, my apologies. I will preface this by saying this is targeted towards goalkeepers. So, this video is to basics and showing how to be a goalkeeper, but you knowing how a goalkeeper is going to act means you know their weaknesses and can exploit those weaknesses.
Everywhere we go in the goal, there is always going to be a triangle. We have the two posts, and then we have that ball. That ball forms the point of the triangle and is constantly moving. As the triangle adjusts, we need to adjust. We always need to find that correct position within the triangle, taking away as much angle as we can, while at the same time giving up a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and a little bit of a lob cover. We need to know our angles. We always need to be balanced in our position in the triangle. We want to hold our water and don't fall forward or lean on any of these shots. We always want to square our body and get perpendicular to the shooter. This is unless that shooter is at a really bad angle, in which case we want to turn the far shoulder back towards the goal slightly. When in the correct spot in our triangle, we are in control. Let's take a look at how this looks visually. So, first of all, we have triangle position 1. This is where that offensive player is at the 1 position. Here's what it looks like when that ball is at the 2 spot. When that ball moves up to the 3 position or center cage, that's our toughest shot here, because that shooter has the most angle. Here's our triangle positioning when the ball is at the 4 spot. Notice this is very similar, if not identical, to the 2 spot. And now the ball moves to the 5 spot. Again, very similar to that 1 position. Notice how bad an angle that shooter has to shoot. Our attitude when the ball is at the 1 or 5 spot is that no one scores on us from that position. This would be similar to a knockdown when really the ball very rarely gets by us. Now that we've gone over the triangle positioning, we need to talk about movement.
Okay, just to preface this, if you were an outfield player, go back, look over those angles. You have to be, actually in fact I'll go back for those angles and I will show you what they mean. Okay, so look how difficult this angle is to score from. If you are right-handed, you can shoot here, or you can shoot here, essentially. But the goalkeeper, if they have their 2 hands up, are most of the time going to block those shots. It's not easy. And you can see this player has even stepped out from 2 meters. So if a goalkeeper's hand is up here, they can block that shot. If the goalkeeper's hand is up here, they're going to block that shot. The goalkeeper is about here. So you see where the goalkeeper is here. You can't really get a lob off behind them. It's not very... It is possible, but it's very, very difficult. So that's why it's important that you learn these attack angles. So now, if we move on to the second, you see, this is a much better angle. You can see here now that the goalkeeper, if say the goalkeepers are hands up, this is roughly what they're going to be covering. So they have to jump if they want to save that shot. They have to jump if they want to save that shot. And there's also the lob over the head of the goalkeeper, which you want to land about here. Well, obviously in the goal line, but you want to be aiming for about... Sorry, that's actually incorrect. You want to be aiming for about here if you're lobbing it. And you want to get it just under that top crossbar. So, as you see, you'll go out. They're much easier shots to take. And now, you still have to bear in mind there's defenders. So, if you're in the first position, you're going to have a defender here. Well, it's very big. But you're going to have a defender here, and they're usually going to be blocking one of the posts as well. So, it's a very difficult shot to take. That's why you really need to think about these positions when you're shooting. And this position is the greatest of them all, because look, this is what the goalkeeper can cover. So they have to make a big jump if they want to get that corner, big jump if they want to get that corner, and they have to watch this entire thing, because you could lob anywhere in here. So these are the things you need to be thinking about when you're taking shots. Where is the goalkeeper the weakest? Say, like, for example, if you have a defender and their left arm's up, they'll be blocking here. Sorry, I'll make that a bit smaller to emphasize. They'll be blocking here. That is what they're going to be blocking. The goalkeeper is probably going to then move over to here to better block this angle. That leaves a lob open here. These are the calculations you have to be making when you are taking a shot. You can't just look at this, someone defending here, and be like, okay, I'll shoot straight in the goals. Unless you shoot straight over the goalkeeper's head and they don't get their two hands up in time, you're not going to score. If the goalkeeper's here, this is now the best shot. But the goalkeeper, if they're smart, will know that. So it's also considered good practice to either lob or threaten the lob. That's what dummies are for. You're trying to move the goalkeeper. It's not just the defense you're tricking. If you get up and go for the lob, the goalkeeper might get nervous. So if they're here, they'll move back to this position here, which leaves a much better shot in this corner. That is what you're going for. You have to be making these, and you have to do this in a second. You are going to get the pass dry pass. Okay, immediately, player is here. We'll say, for example, you have to think, okay, dummy the lob. Goalkeeper's moved over. Good. Take shot. That's how fast you have to be thinking. So you need to get these concepts down. I'm not going to go over the other side because... Well, actually, I will. And I'll tell you why I'll go over the other side. Unless you are a left-handed player, you are at a considerable disadvantage. And I'll tell you why. On this side, you're right-handed. So look, your hand lines up with the inside of the post. I don't know if it's a straight line, but your hand lines up straight inside the post. If you are a left-handed player, if you are a right-handed player on the left side, you have a bad shooting angle because you're shooting from here. Look, you're out the outside, so you have to shoot. If you want to get that top corner goal, you have to shoot across your body. The problem with shooting across your body is it gives the goalkeeper time to react, but also if you're shooting from the inside here instead of the outside here, so sorry, I'll do this again. If you're shooting on the inside, the ball's going to be going across here into there. If you're shooting the outside, the ball is going to go out and in. Look, it's easier for the goalkeeper to get to that first line than the second line. That's why it's disadvantageous to be on the right side. Same thing. This post doesn't lines up with the body here. It doesn't line up with your right hand. So you have to go across your body and in to try and get that shot. If you're a left-hander, it's the exact same as I explained earlier. If you're right-handed, it's a difficult shot to make. So now you're lucky you've left-handed players, and generally we'll be playing a left-hander in this position, in the 5 position. This shot is very difficult. I'm not saying you can't take it, and there are some situations, like say, if you pass from here to here, and you get a good pass, and the goalkeeper is still stuck over here, then obviously you take the shot. But you have to be aware of the fact that this is a difficult shooting position. You need to know this. And finally, if you are right-handed and you're in this position, unless you actually move the ball in to about here, and the goalkeeper is going up and down, and there's free on this corner, or very good shot this corner, you shouldn't shoot, realistically, unless you're left-hander. If you're left-hander, it's the same as this side. If you're a right-hander, you're playmaking. You're looking to pass the ball here, 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 or into the hole. You're not looking to take that shot. If the shot presents itself, you can take it, but it has to be okay, I can't miss this shot. Otherwise, you're just passing the ball to the goalkeeper, your defender's gone, and suddenly they're a man up on the attack, okay? So that is the concept behind shooting, and I'm just going to let the rest of this video run now because I don't want to keep you too long.
To that one position, notice how about shoot. Our attitude, what position, but not talk about, now that we've gone over the triangle positioning, we need to talk about movement from one position in the triangle to the next. So on any kind of pass from one position to another, we have to move and adjust our position in that new triangle. So therefore, we have our nice base position, there's a pass, we have to move, and we have to regain our base position as quickly as possible in that new triangle. We want to be off balance or moving for the shortest amount of time possible. Therefore, we need to do a few things. First,
now, this is important for you to recognize as well, because if you have to exploit the weaknesses of your opponent, and in this case, it's the opponent's goalkeeper. You'll see base position, they're ready to block. Movement, they're still, like, don't get me wrong, most goalkeepers will still be somewhat ready, but they're vulnerable. That's why you have to make dry passes when possible. There are many situations when a wet pass is better. But if you're going in for a shooting position, you're catching it on your strong side. Has to be dry, no dummies shoot. You are trying to get the shot in that movement phase, so the goalkeeper isn't at their best.
First of all, we need to be stepping with our lead leg. Our trail leg needs to be pushing the water. Since the ball will be in the air, we can use our hands in this situation. So that trail hand is pushing, and that lead hand is pulling quickly, but resetting back to its base position as quickly as possible. We always want to be watching the ball. Therefore, on the pass, we want to turn our lead shoulder, body, head, and eyes to follow the ball. This is really important. A lot of the best shooters are going to shoot straight off that pass, so we want to make sure we don't relax on the step. Lastly, we want to face up or square to the shooter. The center of our chest should be perpendicular to the shooter. We can see all of this in the next diagram. In position 1, we're in our base position and we're square to the shooter. When that ball is passed, it's in the air, so we want to cover as much water as we can and get rebalanced as quickly as possible. So we want to step, turn, and face. That's probably our priority. For position 3, the ball is already at that new position. We're not quite to where we need to be, but we are squared. This means that if they catch and shoot, we'll be prepared for the lunge. And if they don't catch and shoot, then we can continue to slide to get into that right position in our triangle.
Okay. Now look at this. This is the goals to about here. Okay? That is the goals. 4 is in the great middle. If you give a dry pass, catch it across your body to here, dry, they're going to be in position 3. Now look. They have to jump from 4 to here if you take a shot in there immediately. If you mess around with the ball, drop it, do dummies when you don't need to, they're going to be here. You shoot there, they're going to make that lunge. Well, not always, but generally they're going to make that lunge. So if they're in 3, you see, they're not in the middle of the goal, so that shot to there has to be fast. And that requires constant practice in training to ensure that you can catch that ball dry without even looking at it. You can glance at it and be glancing at the goal, and you can catch it dry, no problem.
Looking at it quickly, these next diagrams show the movement from position 1 to 2, from position 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. This is our semicircle living in the triangle. It is important to note that if that ball is under pressure and that we're in a press defense, we can play slightly farther out off of our goal line than if we are in a drop. Now I'd like to talk about...
So, the reason you can play further off the goal line in a drop, in a press and in a drop, is because when you're playing a press, you come off your line to 2 meters to help your whole-back, so that the ball can't just be passed over the whole-back's head to the whole forward. Because it's essentially, in a way, the whole forward is doing double marked by the goalkeeper and the whole-back. The only thing to take note of is, if they're playing a press and their goalkeeper's more off the line, it's easier to lob them. If you're playing, if you're playing a drop, the goalkeeper will generally be back more because there's already 2 players and there'll be a lot of blockers. So a lob won't be as viable. But if you are playing a press and the goalkeeper comes off that line, keep in mind the lob is possible. I'm not saying every time they're off their line you should lob it. Generally there'll be a better shot. But do keep in mind it is an option.
The red zone. The red zone is the area in which the goalie may have to start and move early before the shooter has actually released the ball. In general, we want to stay in good, ready base position for as long as possible, but the closer the shooter is to that goal, the less time we have to react. So therefore, as the shooter gets closer, we will need to get up while still keeping our hands light or low. We want to go from a low position to a high position with our hands, while still making the smallest move necessary, since we still want to know where the ball is going. As the shooter gets really close, their angle has actually decreased to a point where we can get our hands and body out and still take away a lot of the goal. Notice that there are no red zones for shots from 1 or 5. As the shooter gets closer at 1 or 5, gradually get your hands out. There is never a need to guess, move early, or fall forward when a shooter is at 1 or 5. Their angle is so small that we cover that entire goal, even with our hands already out of the water. Some variables for the red zone include how fast are the goalkeeper's reactions, hand quickness, shooter's wrist, pace of shot. These are all things that we need to take into account when deciding whether to move early on these shots. Here's what
Now, he makes a very good point from the goalkeeper's perspective. The closer you get to the goalkeeper, the less of an angle you have, the more likely you are to be blocked by the goalkeeper. So you see those 3 red zones. They're also where dummies are most effective, because the goalkeeper has to an extent, predict what you're doing. So if you can fake them out with a dummy, they are going to jump, you have an open shot. Or you just have to get them out of position. If a goalkeeper jumps when you're shooting from 6-7 meters, it's really, a lot of the time, they won't, because they know they can keep their position. If they do, they might even regain their position. I'm not saying don't dummy. You should always dummy to see if let the goalkeeper make that mistake. Be threatening. But inside those red zones are really where the goalkeeper is more on edge. So, especially when you're in there, as long as you are open, there's no defender coming in to rush you, tackle you, it's worth taking that dummy, seeing if that goalkeeper will slip up.
Position diagram looks like, including our red zones. Hopefully this gives you a better appreciation of how much cage we actually cover and how hard it should be for a field player to score on us. This is especially true when they're at 1, 2, 4, and 5. The stronger we are with our positioning, the more difficult it is for field players to score on us. And the more quickly we can move from one position to the next, again, the more difficult it is for them to score on us. So keep working at it.
Okay, I'll end that video now. I'm sorry, I knew I said I wouldn't talk as much, but I felt it's very important you understand that shooting.